Good morning, Turfs Up Radio. Wayne Vo's Profits Unlimited coming to you live from Louisville, Kentucky. Yes, indeedy. Oh, my goodness. We have come around to another week. May 19th. Hard to believe, isn't it? My goodness, time is rolling through, and here we are on another Monday. Before long, we'll be saying, can you believe it's Friday? And then Memorial Day, and then we'll be flying on into June. But hey, we're not going to get that far ahead of ourselves. Goodness gracious. Let's slow it down just a little bit. So, hey, it is a great day. Got a good start off this morning at WLS. Everything is good. No rain. Uh, might have a couple showers, toward noon, but small chance of that. But we're going to work through that. That's going to be our plan if that happens. But just relentless. So I want to just check on everybody and make sure you made it through the storms. Hope your weekend went well. We're going to talk a little bit about that. I had a really good weekend myself, and hopefully you guys did too. Curious to know how your weekend went. We had a great one personally, and hope you did too. We were very fortunate with storms. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. But yeah, I want to give a big shout out to everybody that's out working hard and doing what you need to do on a Monday, right? It is. Hopefully, it's not too much of a manic Monday for you. But yeah, Saturday morning, I went out and got to do a soccer game with my granddaughter, Caroline. She's 6, and it was her last game that I was going to be able to go to for the year. So that was fun. We had good weather. It was a little bit windy, but full sun out there going on, and that was awesome. And they played a good game. Didn't win, but that's okay. They were out there hustling and looked like they were having a good time. Um, I, I hear you. I hear you. Our drunk weather everywhere. It is. It's bad, man. I'll tell you what, Corey. You're right. Right. It's time for a weather change. Goodness gracious. But yeah, we're going to talk about that here in just a second. But curious to know what you guys did on the weekend. What'd you do fun? Were you playing catch up? Were you doing you know just chilling out? Did you grill out? Did you sit back and do nothing? But just say, "Phew, man, made it another week." Made it another week. But it was really fun. Me and Daniel and Caitlin took the old Mustang GT out for a ride Saturday, and we were out about 3 hours and got sunburned. All three of us did. Actually, we had the top down and did a little riding around. And before you know it, it was faces were sunburned, and part of the arm was sunburned. And but I don't know. We had a good trip. It was a good trip out. Had a good time, and just should have been a little more aware of how sunny it was. But man, when you're riding around like that, you're just not thinking about it. But yeah, my face is a little bit warm, but I started putting some um, cream on Saturday night, and all was going pretty good, and got feeling pretty good pretty quick. But a little bit red, and Caitlin and Daniel got a little bit red. I think Caitlin got it the worst out of any of us, but she's coming around. She's coming around. But it was a good weekend for that. And then, gosh, man, just after that, went over to Kyle's. He made some smash burgers on his Blackstone grill for us, and they were awesome. Really, really enjoyed that. He actually took bacon uncooked and put it in with the hamburger, and then when he made the smash burgers, it was in there and cooked them. I'm telling you, that's pretty good. If you've not tried that, you owe it to yourself to try that. I mean, I assume it might work with a regular hamburger too, but it certainly worked perfectly with those smash burgers. So yeah, Kyle got him a Blackstone grill recently, and he's the grill master anyway. He's always grilling He burns his Holland grill up almost nightly, but not literally burn it up, but using it. So he's really good on the grill, and he wanted to get a Blackstone. It's two different experiences, as you guys know, but yeah, really, really going well, and those were really good. And thank him for fighting us over. Uh, yeah, for some good old smash burgers. Me and Daniel and Caitlin went over and had some smash burgers with him, and really good, really good. So, uh, Aaron, I'll check that out. I appreciate y'all's text this morning, man. We'll check those out here in a second. But, and then right after we had our smash burgers, I just want to tell y'all about this real quick, and then we'll move on. But, the Preakness came on, and we watched the Preakness, or I did. I actually, and Kyle had to go pick his daughters up. They were not home with us. So, but the Preakness, I don't know if you guys happen to see the race or not, but it was a pretty creative race to say the least. And I got very fortunate and got the trifecta on that. It wasn't a big win; it's like $73, but it was pretty cool just to win it. And Kyle had a friend or somebody somehow he got access to a trifecta opportunity, and we did it and got
I think it was just like a
was
like a
that
betting person.
was it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think online on Facebook or something. They give their recommendations.
And so got lucky on that one, and it actually paid off. But man, it was a crazy race coming down the stretch. If you haven't seen it, you don't have to be a horse racing fan because I'm really not. I just like it around Derby time, but and I'm watch the Triple Crown side of it. But after that, I'm not a big horse racing fan. But it was a pretty crazy race. I don't know how the one horse. The race was actually under inquiry. I don't know how the one horse didn't fall down. I mean, it was crazy, crazy. So, anyways, Seth, good morning. Appreciate you listening, my friend. Glad to have all you guys hopping on here with us this morning. Yes, indeedy. So, looks like everybody's at it and going. Let's see. Mike said they worked Saturday but played hard on Sunday. Took the family to their minor league baseball game, then out for ice cream on the square. Yay! That's pretty cool. So glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. So sounds like Mike had a good weekend. Let's see. Aaron says, awesome goes. I was getting there. Oh my gosh. Aaron said, awesome goals. 3 lawn pros getting their first sunburn of the season.
There you
Maybe he'll
go.
be there one day. Yeah, it actually was, but it was a very limited exposures to just the head area predominantly. But yeah, Aaron, it's hey, go ahead and do it. Set that go. But yeah, we had a good weekend, and then after Saturday, went out yesterday. Me and Lee, friend of mine, he's got a business called Tech to Go, and if any of you guys are in, you know, this area around Louisville, I know we got listeners all over the country, but the reality of it is, if you're within say 100 miles of Louisville, he's got a great business where they do what would you call it, Dan? Well, like
Just like tech.
home theater and
Yeah, tech.
computer stuff as far as if you want to set up a network. And
Yeah, install and updates and upgrades and
so it's a sideline business that he's got, and he works otherwise with the VA, and but yeah, he's just really good at what he does. So he was switching out some TVs for me in my RV. We went down yesterday to where Timmy and Robbins, where my RV's at currently, and we were switching out. He was doing most of the switching. I was just kind of helping him a little bit, but I was the assistant. Go get this kind of thing. But yeah, we got the two of them done and one to go. So looking forward to getting that done. Just it was time for an update. Time for an update on the TVs to get some smart TVs in there and get ready to hopefully do some camping. I don't know, man. We drove down to the lake and the water was looking a lot better. We could actually see the campground and the boat ramp was open, right, Daniel?
Yeah.
But and then I saw some pictures this morning. Somebody posted and said our progress is going backwards, and yeah, they that rain from Friday night kind of put a damper on it. The water came back up. So, but hey, it'll be all right. It'll be all right. We'll get there sooner or later. So, anyways, Mike, I'm glad you guys had a good time. Appreciate y'all listening, and kind of find out what you're into today as well. Uh, Mike says they're going camping 2 weeks from today. Yay! Hope it sounds fun, man. Where I like to go down there at Green River Lake State Park. Um, they're close to August 1st at least. They said so. I don't know. We'll see how that pans out. I mean, you talk about a hit on your business. That's certainly pretty crazy. Uh, John said he had his 60th birthday party at his house on Saturday. Well, happy birthday, my friend. Absolutely. Good deal, man. Glad you had I'm sure you had a good time with that and a few people coming over, whatever, maybe a whole lot, but the reality of it is glad you had a good birthday party and happy 60th to you, my friend. So we're pretty close together there in age. I just had my 62nd birthday and back in March. So happy birthday. Happy birthday. It's always cool. I like my birthday still. You know, I mean, hell, it's nice to be lucky enough to still have a birthday. A lot of people aren't, you know, that's the other side of it. But hope everybody's weather situation that I know I know Dan out towards St. Louis area, they had some very significant weather go through with tornadoes and whatnot Friday. And then Friday night, we had significant weather here. Luckily, we were lucky right here in Louisville at our shop, but some people did have quite a bit of tree damage and blown over and power outages, and then even worse as you went towards central Kentucky, down toward London, Kentucky, which is put in south central Kentucky area for you guys that aren't familiar with it, in Somerset, around Lake Cumberland area. They had 18 deaths, I think. We've had 19 total deaths, I think, from the weather in Kentucky. But and they just had some really destructive issues down there from hurricanes. Shit, as I said, hurricane because here in Louisville we had like an 84-mile-an-hour wind gust right there at our house, literally, and was recorded and it was crazy right in that Fern Creek Glenmary area. And I know that don't mean anything to you guys, but it was just different. I'm just here to tell you it was different. It was short lived, but it was different. And I'm like, man, that's a hurricane force wind, rolling through. So it was crazy. It was crazy. But
91-mile-an-hour gust in Fern Creek, actually.
was it really?
Yeah.
So even wow, it was something else. But we survived it, and I would just want to give a big shout out to anybody that had any significant damage or damage that they got to deal with that weather, regardless of where you're at, and because that was a big one, and there's going to be quite a lot of cleanup time going on that. So I did want to give everybody a shout out on that. Um, know that we got prayers going your way, and I can not imagine what it would be like to have a home and then 20 seconds later it's gone, and then all that goes along, with that. It puts a whole lot of other stuff in perspective. And even worse are the people that lost their lives in it. And, we talk about business problems and issues and things like that. And, sometimes something like this puts a lot of things into perspective for us. So, on what's a real problem and what's not a real problem. And we actually got something else we're going to talk about too, about problems here in just a second. Let's see. Mike said a funnel cloud that hit London went over about a mile from his house in Bowling Green area. So wasn't on the ground, but he said it was pretty crazy. So yeah, I think they said that was like that supercell system that was associated with. I think Daniel, they said it was on the ground for like 500 miles, not the tornado itself, but just the path that it took and up and down. And
Yeah, I heard the tornado was on the ground for like nearly 70 miles or something,
that's
wasn't
a
it?
long way. I mean, I don't know. Just, God, we figure out a way to fix tornado issues, you know?
The
But
slippery slope.
yeah, it is. It is. But we won't go there. But just wanted to give everybody a big shout out on that. And hopefully your day's underway well. Crews are out and about doing whatever it is you wanted to get done today. We're trying to get a lot of mowing done today. Got a chance of a little light rain maybe here around noon, they were saying, but shouldn't be anything significant. So we're going to certainly try to roll on through, all of that and get that taken care of. So with that being said, we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back and get into our show. Daniel, something you made mention of today was, toward the end of your show, you were talking about sleeping and, the value. You talk about it quite a bit, but the value of, sleep and the proper sleep. And something I heard you say today, though, got caught my interest a little bit was about the sheets. You know how temperature and body temperature and core temperature and
Yeah.
that
Well,
whole
there's just a
thing.
lot of new technology out there with bed
Well,
material or whatever you want to call it.
yeah. Well, I was good. And when you said sheets, it made me think about it. I love my sleep number bed.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got that what they call the smart bed thing where it tracks, like your breathe rate and
Yeah.
what's that other thing? HRV.
Respiratory rate, HRV. Yeah, probably heart rate as well.
And I know a lot of people have apps and stuff that do that too, but I mean,
Right.
it's really cool to get up. I just when I wake up, I can know if I've slept well or not.
Yeah.
You feel it, but
I
then
think
I'll
that's the important thing to keep intact with and keep in touch with is how you truly do feel and not just rely on what technology tells you.
yeah.
It's good to have that. It's awesome to have the ability to like track your trends and all those different things, but
Yeah.
don't lose touch with like how you truly feel.
Right. Right. So when you said that, I looked up last night. My number wasn't great, but uh, it was like a 78 last night.
As your like recovery score, sleep score.
My sleep score
Yeah.
was like a 78. But you, the thing with that bed, I figured out is you get penalized for laying in bed.
Yeah.
So like this morning, I got up. I don't know. I woke up about 10 after 5. Okay. And I didn't get up till about quarter to 6, you know. But I was laying there watching the news, and I always tell myself, man, get up because you're messing your sleep number up because they count that as restless sleep,
Right.
you know.
I'm sure there could be a way in the app. I don't, maybe not, but it would be a cool thing if they allowed you to go in and edit it,
You can edit
edit the
like your
time.
timeout,
Yeah, I would
but
just
it
go ahead and do
doesn't
that.
change your score. So I don't know
Hmm.
what the advantage guy because I looked it up one day and I did edit it out.
I wonder if that edit just doesn't make that much of a difference. Then like it would be interesting maybe to go in and edit
I'll
3 hours worth and
see
see
what
if it
happens.
changes. Because maybe
Yeah.
the 15 minutes really doesn't penalize you enough to change your score.
Uh, oh my God. Corey's funny. He said, I never understood it. I close my eyes and then open my eyes. You know? Yeah, that's pretty much what I do too,
Sleep
Corey.
is very interesting in that way where you don't
You
feel
know.
time go by.
But
So weird.
I do like the aspect of the sheets that I've got. I do have those cooling sheets, and I do in at the house. My nighttime temperature, I have it where it goes to 67, I think. So it is cool.
Mine was 67 last night and I was toasty.
What you're toasty at 67?
Yeah.
I know.
But I mean, we're also in the upstairs.
Oh, okay.
So down in the main level, it was fine. But I usually like to keep mine a little bit lower
Yeah.
depending on the specific weather outside.
Well,
But
and especially guys in this industry, I mean, sleep and recovery is really important, isn't it? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, for your performance, your job performance, your ability to have like good reaction time, being out there on the road all day and being, interacting with equipment and machinery and stuff and emotionally and mood wise, like interacting with people, whether it be customers that are upset. You don't want to be all sleep deprived and go off on somebody or an employee or whatever. Like there's just a lot of things that sleep helps you with.
help can certainly help you with, absolutely. So, yeah, I wanted to just bring that up a minute because I mean, it was when I heard you talking about that, I was like, I really do like uh, my sleep number bed. I'm not here promoting sleep number beds, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
to
Well,
me, it's worth it. I mean,
there's a lot of different, beds out there
there's a
now that
lot
are
of good
really
number
good.
beds that are
I've
comfortable though.
never met anybody that actually uses one, but I know that like the pod, I think, or 8 pod or 8 sleep pod or something like that, they have some really cool technology in their beds. There's just a lot of like technology based beds now that are really cool. So
Yeah,
it's something I say on my show, but you spend about a third of your life in bed. Maybe a little
yeah,
bit more, maybe a little bit less, but about a third of your life will be spent sleeping. So it's definitely worth the investment.
the investment. Yeah, I know it's. I'm glad you said that because I kind of feel weird about it sometimes, but I don't know. To me, it was worth every penny that I spent on that bed.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
definitely worth it.
excuse me, because I like getting in that. Like if you want a harder bed or softer bed, or
Hmm.
I just that whole flexibility because the tracking's important, I guess. But
Yeah, the
uh,
tracking is good to like monitor your habits and stuff, right? Like,
yeah.
oh, well, I mean, we talked about it before, like alcohol or how active was I today, and it can tell you
Oh, it's
did I get
crazy
enough
how that
sleep?
alcohol affected.
Mm-hmm. Your
Yeah,
recovery. Yeah.
yeah, my recovery. I came in and mentioned it one day, you all to Daniel. I was like, man, my HRV last night was like 51. And that first thing Daniel said was, did I drink? And it was like, yeah, I had a couple drinks last night. And literally a couple. This ain't like getting pulled over and having 2 beers. I literally had 2 drinks. And yeah, my HRV was 51, where normally it runs 130, 140. Last night I was at 251.
Oh wow.
So
I've
that was crazy.
never heard of anybody that high, but
No, look, I mean,
I mean,
maybe,
I believe it.
no, no,
Mine
it
actually,
was kind of concerning.
no, it's not bad.
How could you possibly go from a norm of 150 to 250 on an
Other
HR?
than just like technological error, I
You
don't
think?
know. It could
But
have
it
been
was
technological.
234 is what it was.
That's really high, but I mean, I've never heard anybody say, "Hey, your HRV is too high." So
Yeah. I mean,
yours
I
is
was still in
actually
the range.
way higher than mine, which is
Mine's 124 is my average.
see,
So is that a decent number at that level?
it's just
Or
very personalized because
is it
mine's almost never that high.
124?
Yeah, I don't really ever.
Mine's
I
not,
haven't
but
I,
my average has been 124.
I haven't worn my Whoop in a while. That tells me all that stuff
Yeah.
that your bed tells you. But I do remember yours consistently being on average higher than mine. So, um, for whatever reason, I mean, it's not bad or good per se. I mean, I'm sure there's a certain level that you probably don't want to be
Yeah.
at for anyone. You don't want like a 2 or anything, but
Right.
just, that's a really high number it seems like. So,
That's the highest mine's ever been. So hopefully it throws that out, you know. I was at 160 the night before. So
yes.
what is that, just like a comfort level sleep? And my sleep number was 82
What do
the
you
night
mean by
before.
that comfort level sleep?
Like does it mean you're sleeping better with that number up higher? Like in a deeper sleep? Because I hear you talk about, you
Your
know,
HRV is not like it's connected with your recovery more than your sleep. So it doesn't necessarily mean you slept good, it means your body recovered well. So you could sleep good, but let's say you had a really hard day, you're out there working, doing a really hard landscaping job, and you're really just putting a lot of effort and energy into it and sweating and doing all this stuff. And maybe you didn't hydrate as well as you should have. And so that's another thing going against you. But you go home, you go to bed real early, even you're just so tired, and you get 8, 9 hours of sleep, and it's more than you usually get. and you could sleep really well, but because your body went through all that the day before, your HRV might actually still be pretty low, even though you slept well. So your sleep is like another fact. All these are factors that go into your recovery score. Like your
Okay.
sleep's a factor, HRV is a factor, respiratory rate's a factor, that go in to create this score. So it's not like, but all these factors can impact the other factor too.
Okay.
So
A lot more than meets the eye goes into it. Don't focus on one number. Is that the
I would say that's probably pretty true because you could have a really pretty solid HRV, but and this is going past what we're talking about right now, but like maybe you don't eat well, or maybe you don't hydrate well, or maybe your blood sugar's not great, or your so don't think, okay, if this is right, then everything else doesn't matter, or whatever. Everything, plays into
yeah?
the whole situation, which is why you get that score number. That score is kind of like an average of how well everything is doing.
Okay, that's cool. I would like to throw that high number out because I mean that was an outlier, and
I
I
mean,
really
I think
think
it's good to keep all the information though, even though you don't think like, okay, well, it's throwing my averages off whack. It's still though shows you a certain potential that your body has. So okay, my body, what's the highest something's ever? What's the best month of revenue we've ever had? You wouldn't want to throw that out because that shows what the potentials are. Even though it might be 1.5 times higher than every other month or whatever. Okay, well, there's potential out there for us to get this good.
yeah, that's true too. It's kind of like you're not guessing at where you can get to potentially because you know you're getting there. So yeah, absolutely. Man, I appreciate the text you guys are sending, and we'll address some of this with y'all too. So, but well, I appreciate your input on that, Daniel, as always. So, Mike said he's always thought about a sleep number bed, but the way his kids do World War III every day on the bed, and it messes up. But I think you got to be in there a certain amount of time before it starts recording, though.
Hmm.
So you'd be all right, I think, Mike. But hey, anyways, I want to give everybody a quick reminder that this Wednesday night at 7 p.m. is going to be our Profit Circle webinar. And we got a great guest coming on this Wednesday that's going to talk to us. He's Derek Decker with Edward Jones, and he's going to, just talk about taking care of yourself financially. And Derek takes care of us here at work at Wayne's Lawn Service, and for everybody that wants to participate in that. So here at our work, and he's a great guy, young guy. Uh, I really like Derek, and so you guys plan on joining us. If you're not in the Profit Circle with us, he's Derek's just going to talk about, hey, if you're not doing anything, some things you can do. It doesn't have to be through him. It's just going to be a general knowledge share kind of webinar, but and different things to look at with the market, trends where they're at. And so yeah, it's not a sales pitch. So don't think, oh man, I don't feel like being sold.
Yeah, you don't have to go with his company. It's just
Yeah,
about figuring out what to do, based on your availability of money and age and all that kind of stuff.
and it don't take much. That's the thing. I wish I would have done it sooner. Let me say that. So, we work hard. You guys are busting butt on a regular basis, working hard, whether you're a one truck operation or a multi crew company. Don't be dumb like I was with it and give yourself 743 excuses on why you can't put a little bit over.
Yeah, or
You
even
know,
why you shouldn't. Like, I
or
think there's a
you know,
misconception that it's true that yes, your business is an investment and the money you put back, it grows in the same way that other investment accounts or whatever will grow. That's completely true. But why not diversify, right? Like we all hear, don't put all your eggs in one basket. So even just putting a small amount of money in per week can help you diversify in case something would happen.
yeah, if something does happen. And speaking of something happening, Joe Dunbar, one of our listeners here in Central Kentucky, Smoking Joe, You guys have maybe heard him on the radio with some of our hosts or whatnot, but he had an accident Saturday, Daniel. I don't know if you'd heard about that or if I.
Yeah, I just heard about it from you from
Yeah,
this morning. So
he had an accident Saturday on his lawnmower. He had the ROP system, which is for you guys that may not know. I cannot imagine anybody not knowing, but if you're new into the business, it's that rollover protection that's behind your seat on your mowers. Uh, he had it up like he should have, but he went underneath a tree, and the ROP system caught a branch and kind of yanked him and flopped him around. He called me this morning and was telling me about it. And when he reached his arm up there to release the branch, when it released, another branch came and yanked him back and cut the heck out of his hand. And he actually not just cut his hand. I think he said he only ended up with like 4 stitches, but he broke a couple bones in his hand and got a couple bones dislocated when it pulled his arm back over that bar. And so, what I want to talk about a little bit today on that whole theme, if you will, is are you prepared for an accident with your business? And regardless of your company size, small, medium, large, extra large, whatever, however you perceive your company, the reality of it is the smaller your company is, the more it directly affects your company. Like Joe's a smaller company, and he told me, he says, well, I'm out trying to do what I can do today, with some help, but things are going to be slow. And I just want you guys to think about, number one is, are you doing something as basic as carrying a first aid kit in your truck in case you do get cut or, something happens? Or are you just going to, grab a shirt and put a shirt on it till you get to the hospital? I mean, something to help contain the bleeding. But from a realistic standpoint, hopefully you've got, some first aid kit in your truck. Strictly from that standpoint. And something weird, or I found it a little bit odd, and Katie brought up a good point. Joe was telling me this morning he's going to see a hand specialist actually Thursday, I think it was, just to check it out for him. But, he's in a cast and, he's got his stitches and he's trying to, figure out a way to, weed eat or whatnot. I think he said he was weed eating, trying to figure out how a way to weed eat, and then got, if he didn't have, throw something up and hit him up on the side of the head. And he had a big patch on the side of his head the other day too. I'm not laughing at you, Joe, if you're listening. I swear I'm not. But the whole point is, what do you have in place in case something happens to you? And we've talked about this before when, a friend of mine a few years ago actually got killed on a lawnmower. We've talked about that. Kyle Adams was his name, God rest his soul. But, so it's one of those things you don't think's going to happen, but happens sometimes, And so let's throw the extreme case out of dying on a lawnmower or a piece of equipment or rollover or whatever. But let's just look at something, something like this where, you cut your hand or you sprain an ankle or you break an arm or, one thing that I would suggest is, you got to think about, and this is outside of the scope of work, Daniel, but extracurricular activities that you get into. You're running a business, it's you and maybe a helper, although it's great to get involved and, play softball or I don't fill in a blank on what you like. But and you can have an accident doing anything, right? I mean,
yeah,
you do that fishing, golf and get hit in the head with a ball from somebody else.
yeah, or twist wrong when you're going to drive the ball or whatever.
So but
I just think too, you have to balance how you do those things, right? Like we're not in the MLB, so don't act like this is Game 7 of the World Series. You can still go out and have fun. Right. There's a big difference between those two things.
Yes, I agree 100%. And I that's one thing I could not do and I was too young and dumb to differentiate between, hey, just go out and play a little softball, but don't be as competitive as you used to be because now you got a family and a business and and you
Yeah.
can't afford the time
And
off.
maybe that's the bigger I think mindset than it is don't then be afraid to do anything.
Yeah,
Like you have to realize where you are and what's important. Maybe at 17 or 18, it was more important to make sure you did score the winning run, but now it's a different priority.
right.
There's different things to think about.
But Joe was telling me something with his situation, and work related accidents happen as well. I dislocated a finger back here in the shop driving our forklift many years ago. You know, just turning the wheel and had my finger stuck out in a position I shouldn't have, and kind of like I was drinking out of a wine glass or something. With my finger stuck out there, and that put me out for a little bit. I mean, it didn't make me incapable of working, but it certainly was with the thing I had on it and that old deal turned into a little bit of a project. Excuse me. Mike said that's solid advice. He says that's one reason he plays down a level in hockey.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't quit doing what you like, but just think about what you're doing and what's truly important. And
Yeah, I mean,
and
it's if it's four wheeling, or using the side by sides, it's are you gonna go climb that
do you have to
whatever
do the
180
one that
degree
yeah
slope, or are you gonna just go and have fun and survive the day?
go ride and yeah live to tell about it?
Yeah.
But
There's always a way to do it, safer, smarter, less competitive, whatever, just to,
yeah.
to survive the day.
And if it happens at work, Joe made a really good comment this morning in talking to me. He said, "Man, I'd appreciate if you just tell everybody to be safe. Think about safety out there."
Yeah.
He said, he flopped around a few times under the tree with different branches. He said I was rolling pretty good, under the tree, forgot I had my bar up and that bar hit. And I tried knocking the bar off with my arm and now I'm bleeding. He said I had to call 911. And he said it's a good thing I did because he said, if I'd have tried driving myself, might have been a different result, with the bleed out. And, but accidents are going to happen, but just are you prepared for something when it does happen? And that preparedness starts initially with something as simple as a first aid kit in your truck, and then something that he told me was crazy, and get further into this in a second for his business preparedness. But he said today, as of this morning, he had already had 18 clients reach out to him and tell him not to worry about, coming back. They got somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, man, that's cold blooded. But Katie brought up a good point. Huh? Oh, oh,
I said
oh,
something. I don't know if
oh,
Katie said something else.
Daniel did. Daniel brought it up. But that, what was it?
Maybe the people that some of them, or maybe all of them, you don't know, but maybe their mindset was, man, this guy's let us know that something pretty bad happened. Let me take something off his plate and just tell him not to worry about it. I
Right.
mean, that could have been their mindset on it instead of, man, this guy not going to be able to get to me. Just forget him. I'm going to find somebody
Right.
else.
And I don't know why I immediately went the other direction with it, but it'd be like, was he being too transparent, letting his customers know? But yeah, I mean, you're right. I think some of it may have been that they were just trying to take a little pressure off of him, you know. And I guess the question comes down to two guys: how transparent do you need to be? You know,
I think transparency needs to be honesty.
I mean, if you're not going to get there, it's
Yeah, I think you need to be honest and upfront with your customers, right? Like you're both committing to each other. They're not
right,
hiring somebody else, so when you show up, they're somebody else is already doing the work, and vice versa, right? Like you promise to show up each week and get the work done. And if it'd be kind of like the transparency of a customer saying, "Hey, don't come by this week. I'm having my yard dug up for whatever reason." You
Right,
would appreciate that as the business.
right. And I mean, here's something, and I'm not throwing rocks at Joe, and I know you probably listen to me, man, but um, he always talks about being behind too. So that it may be a situation where maybe he was a little bit overbooked.
Yeah,
And
I
I
mean,
mean, I don't know. I'm speculating, but I'd ask that same question to him, you know. And actually, one of our listeners brought that up that said, hey, Joe's always talking about being behind, you know, and maybe that's it too. I mean, that volume of work can sometimes, and this may not have had anything to do with that accident, but sometimes when you got a lot, you're trying to hurry and you're trying to get caught up, and
yeah.
you know, uh, that's generally when shit happens, and that's why they call them accidents. I mean, they don't call them on purposes, you know. But I just hope that those 18 people that have left were for the right reason and not because they just didn't care and it's all about getting their lawn cut. And I understand that perspective too. If you need service, you need service.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
if
at
you
the end of the day, yeah, somebody that needs to get their lawn mowed has to get it done. And
so, but here's the question: is or something that, from a preparedness standpoint, you know, right? I hear you, Doug. It's true too. But do you have somebody that you can count on
Mhm.
in a situation like that? I think that's the important thing that we should all take away from this incident. You know, do you have a competitor, a friend maybe that's in the business, or just who's the backup? That's the question. You know, and going to capacity, you know, how much do you have within your own business that somebody is capable of helping you with?
Yeah.
You
Well, it's
know,
like our last Zoom meeting, I think is what um Corey was talking about being that for somebody. And his situation didn't turn out to be amazing. Do you remember when I can't remember what the guy, if he's listening, can fill us in on, but for some reason some guy was like, "Hey, can you help me out for a couple weeks for something and mow a few of my yards?" And he ended up helping him out. So, yeah, it's just find somebody to be that uh, backup plan, if you want to call it that, I guess,
yeah,
for each other.
right. No,
Mutual
that's right.
benefit.
Kind of like a mutual aid that emergency response uh, have. Like with fire, for an example, you have what's called mutual aid. Certain districts will help another district out that are adjoining districts, and that's something that I would like to take away from my show today. Be for everybody is regardless of your size, but like I said, it more affects a smaller company. What do you have in place within your business? Do you have a secondary plan for something happening? You know, so just something to think about. And where do you have route sheets for somebody? Are you using software? Um, if you got software, who would have? Let's say something. He could have easily been knocked off that mower, um, and had a bigger problem. You know, um, let's see. Man, I appreciate all the text you guys are sending in, and we'll get to these comments. But who else can help you run your business in the event you can't? Now, he's completely in good sound mind, so you know he's just looking for a little bit of help. you know, but from a production side of it. So that may be something to think about is, hey, who's my sub that I can count on? Who's my competitor that I can count on, to help me in this situation? Um, let's see. Mike said we may feel a personal connection to these customers, but at the end of the day, if you died, somebody else would be there next week mowing the grass, and you're just a story they'll tell on the weekend. That is absolutely the truth. That is 100% the truth. Um, let's see. Corey said his pricing was horrible. That's why he got out on it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that part. I just couldn't remember
Yeah.
why the guy wanted him to help him out.
But yeah, to help him out. But that's it, you know, and prepare yourself for something or a situation that you know is probably not going to happen, but may. You know, you get really sick, you break a leg. Saw something on social media today with somebody made a comment about one of their crew leads broke a leg, you know, over the weekend in a car wreck. You know, now that's strictly there's an accident, and you know how do you overcome that? Do you have somebody trained, or do you have that can run that crew for several weeks, or is it something you got to jump back into production on? Or, again, all this goes back to company size on how you prepare for it. But it is your responsibility as the owner to have a plan for it. And I think that's fair. I think that side of it is fair to say that it's your responsibility to have a plan for it. You know, you do get incapacitated or something. Um, who knows your passwords? Who knows your logins? Who's capable of billing your customers? Who's capable of getting those checks in or deposits in? If they're auto runs, does your software auto run it, or is it something that, there's so many scenarios that it's impossible to sit here on my show and say, hey, do this, this, and this. It's got to be a scenario where you look at it on an individual basis and say, okay, this is my situation. This is my software I'm running, if I'm running any. Uh, and this is how we're going to do things. Now, does that mean it's all going to be that smooth when something happens? You have an accident? Maybe not. It's like you don't know till you try it. So, but what we can do is plan for it. And then if it does happen, at least you've got a plan in place. And Joe, we wish you the best of luck. I know everybody does. And anybody that may be experiencing that that we don't know, didn't hear about, but maybe a listener here on Turfs Up Radio. But the at the end of the day, what it amounts to is it's up to you. It's your business. It's your responsibility to have an alternate plan in place in the event that something does happen. And again, something as simple as password, something as simple as accounts receivable, something as simple as accounts payable. Who's going to be able to take care of that end of it for you? And then certainly last but not least, and this is going to sound a little bit morbid, but you know, have you guys thought about a will? Do you have a will in place? Or are you going to be as bad as Wayne was for a lot of years, thinking, well, it's not going to happen to me. We'll worry about that later. You know, you never know. It goes back to you don't know what you don't know, and it doesn't matter until it matters. So, and I'm not going to give you will advice or healthcare surrogate advice or POA advice or any of that. I'm going to say you owe it to yourself, you owe it to your family, you owe it to your business to have those things in place. So reach out to an attorney and get those things set up that you need help setting up, like the legal documentation of that. But you take the responsibility of knowing who can help you in the event of emergencies. Let's take a short break. Man, I appreciate all the text you guys, sent in today on, the whole thing about, accidents and being prepared and the reality of it, knowing that, hey, yeah, we do need to take it a little bit easy on what we choose to do as some fun things. And Daniel, I think, made a really great point with that, that, instead of, thinking, oh man, I gotta be the one that scores this last run, just go out there and do it because it's fun, you know, and I'm not saying don't put forth the effort, but have fun doing it. Use it as a relaxing time, but just make sure that you're going to get back to work because, like I said, you're counting on it, your family's counting on it, your business is counting on it, and your employees are counting on it. Everybody's counting on each other. And, it is truly a circle. So, accidents are going to happen. But to Joe's point, just be prepared. Make sure you're prepared for an accident, and minimally start with at least a first aid kit in your truck and maybe a little bit of training on some CPR and first aid training is going to go a long way for you and or somebody else. So, um, but yeah, that's our takeaway today. I want you guys to just think about if something weird was to happen to you. Let's don't look as bad as death or, completely incapacitated. Uh, but certainly think about that too in the long haul. I mean, in the long haul, we need to think about that as well. But as of, right now, today, ask yourself if you get hurt today while you're out or something happens, how is your business going to function? That's what we'll think about. Are you going to be okay? Does your business move along, because you've got somebody that's going to just step in, and be able to step in? And is it fair to have them step in, if you will? Let's say it's somebody within your team right now. You know, is it fair to have them step in without any exact application? It's fine to have the plan, it's fine to have the training, but also you need the practical application of it, you know. So absolutely. And Corey makes a really great point as, within that safety kit that you've got, be sure you got a tourniquet, you know. So with it. So a lot of little things we can do that will make our lives a whole lot easier. And again, like I said, it's one of those things that doesn't matter until it matters. So let's be a little more prepared for it. So if and when it does happen, you're going to be able to have a response. And that's the key. So appreciate y'all's time. Appreciate all the text. And again, our shout out to all of our listeners out there. Stay safe. Potentially some more bad weather moving across our part of the country tomorrow. And you guys stay safe. That's number one. And number two, remember, profit is not a dirty word. We'll see you Wednesday.